Well, hello, everyone. My name is Brian Ballentine, one of the podcast members here at Connected by Community, brought to you by Ballentine Capital Advisors. I just want to take a moment and thank everyone for listening, sharing, liking our podcast, and allowing us to share with you more about our community. And I want to take a special moment to thank our sponsors for allowing us to partner with them and continue to bring you these nonprofits, community interest, business leaders in our community and what they're doing for and in our community. I'd ask you to check them out. They allow us to continue to bring this to you. And if you or someone you know would like to know more about becoming one of those partners with us, check out our website, connectedbycommunity.org. There you'll find a sponsorship tab, and we can get you more information on that. Until we see you next time, go out and make our community great. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Connected by Community, a podcast brought to you by Ballentine Capital Advisors. We're so excited to have you here today, and we're excited to have an awesome guest, a new addition to our team, Mrs. Ann Thompson. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it.
Great. So want to tell our audience and our listeners a little bit about you. Certainly, this specific episode is a little bit about our firm. We've been sponsoring this, and you're new to our team, but you're not new to the community. So before we jump into it, maybe tell our listeners a little bit about your background. Are you from this area? How long have you been here?
Yeah.
Do you have a family? That kind of stuff. Dogs, cats, fish.
Oh, almost all the above. So been in this community a long time. So I've probably lived in Greenville almost 30 years now. Originally from New Jersey, came down to North Carolina, went to college at Western Carolina University. I met my husband there. My husband's from Anderson, South Carolina. So I graduated in December of 93, and I remember going home for Christmas, and New Jersey had the worst snowstorm in 100 years, and I got locked in the house with my mother for 3 full days, and I decided right then that I needed to move back down south. So called Bill, told him he needed to come get me, and that's where my journey in South Carolina started.
That's awesome. So you've been here a long time, so you were one of the very first Northeastern folks that moved this way. There's been a trend, right? But you did it before it was cool, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, I think I did it before it was cool. I married a local, too, is what I claim.
Right, I understand. So you're half Southern by...
There you go. My kids are all Southern.
And you have 2 girls, right?
I do. 21-year-old, she's a junior at University of Tennessee in Knoxville. And then I have a senior at Riverside High School. That is going to be going to App State next year.
That's awesome. And you and I have shared through some trials and tribulations there, because I have a senior and junior as well. And there's a lot of excitement, a lot of costs, a lot of parental guidance needed at this point, right?
Teenagers are challenging, to say the least.
Yeah, that's a different episode.
Yeah, definitely.
They keep you on your toes, I'm sure.
There's no such thing as how to train your teenager.
Yeah. and I joked about dogs, cats, fish, any of those type things?
Yep, got 2 dogs. I would call them mutts, Humane Society babies, and constantly running after them and walking them, and they keep me on my toes and keep my steps in place, I should say. They don't let me leave the house without putting a leash on them.
That's good. They keep you busy for sure. Yeah. So tell us maybe a little bit about your background, maybe what you did even before you got into wealth management. We're going to get to that, but kind of where did you start your career and what led you maybe to wealth management?
Right. So after college, I just started looking for different job opportunities in the South Carolina area. Went to work for a small communication company here in Greenville, but they were based out of Raleigh. But that kind of got me journeying into communications. So spent some time at that small company, worked for Sprint, short period of time at MCI, which is probably a very long history lesson because they're no longer in existence anymore.
Young folks don't know about any of those things, right?
No. You don't hear Sprint anymore because that's the T-Mobile acquisition, right? Mm-hmm. Went to work for BellSouth, which then became AT&T. Spent about 12, 13 years at BellSouth AT&T timeframe. Left there, was, I would say, by that point, I had been in the communications industry probably about 15, 16 years. Left AT&T, wanted to do something different, but it's really hard to change careers when you've been in a certain industry for a long time, and just did some different things. Worked for ScanSource for a couple years, started my own consulting company, still in that communication industry, and then I started looking at opportunities to move my AT&T 401k. And I started talking with advisors in different areas. I think I attended one of your seminars, Brian. That's how I got to know you a long time ago.
That was decades ago.
Yeah, that was decades ago. But just talking to advisors, and I had been an active trader. So I'm a big proponent of compounding, the magic of compounding. I totally believed in it. My dad taught me from a small child, investing was the way to go. That's what put me through college, paid for my college and my brother's colleges, was him investing in stocks and bonds throughout my lifetime. So I got into that really early, right out of college. As soon as I started making a paycheck, I started investing, and I was a trader. So I would say, some people would say I was an active trader, but I wouldn't call myself active. I probably did some trades a couple a week, but then I would go long periods without doing anything. But I saw the benefits of starting early and kind of it growing over time. So I was a huge proponent, but then when I was in there looking to move my AT&T 401k, these guys that I was talking to just paid me no mind. They would look at my husband and talk to my husband, and I'm like, hey, this is my money that I want you to focus on me if I'm going to move my money for your assistance in managing it. And they just didn't provide me with what I was looking for. And then I was looking to change industries. I'm like, I love finance. And I'm like, can I do this? And after talking to 3, 4, 5 of those gentlemen, I'm like, I can do what these guys do. And then I started researching, what do I need to do to get into this industry? What kind of trainings do I need to go back to school? Do I need to get a master's degree? Went to work, talked to a lot of people, went to work for Merrill Lynch and worked there. Got my trainings, my Series 7, my 66, my insurance license, did all that through Merrill. They provided a great training program. Was there for 4 years, and then I had an opportunity at Charles Schwab, moved to Schwab. They have an office downtown Greenville. Lots of fun working at Schwab, but both those companies are big, big broker-dealers. I mean, employees in the tens of thousands for both those companies. Merrill Lynch, owned by Bank of America. So these are very large companies. So being an employee in such a huge company, you kind of get overshadowed. You're just a number. You're not a person really anymore. So been in this industry now in finance for 8 years. Decided to make a move, as you know. Just a few months ago, we started talking. Ballentine is a small firm, really does a lot of the things that I want to do with clients, which is pay close attention to what their needs and their wants are, develop relationships with them, where the bigger companies, they want you to churn and burn. They don't want you to have those lasting relationships with clients. They don't want you to spend the time that some of these clients really need some time.
Can I ask about it? So, because, and obviously I'd call myself an insider that I this podcast is about you, but I did some of the same things early in my career and, started with some of the big names same experiences.
Yeah.
And this is not to throw any one particular one of them under the bus, and there's fine people there. I call them broke systems. There are fine people at, you name the firm, right? Yeah. And I guess as you're at these big firms, this is, just a recent move, but what do you see the biggest need that maybe clients don't even know they need, that they're not getting when they walk into, 1-800.com, I call it.
Right.
And I'll throw one of them out there. Sometimes they're getting the latest 24-year-old that graduated from college. I love 24-year-olds, nothing wrong with that. But if I'm going to hand my $5 million retirement plan over, maybe they should have a little bit of gray hair. Maybe.
Well, wait, I cover mine.
I know. Well, I do. Right. I know. You know what I'm getting at, right? So I guess what have you seen from maybe the inside big firm, whether it was even take it back from AT&T, because I always say there's a lot of similarities. I don't care if it's widgets, gadgets, financial firms. If you're walking into some big 800.com shop,
Right.
there's probably a formula they have, and they probably had it before you walked in, and you probably aren't getting what you think you're getting.
Right.
Does that make sense?
They have a process and procedure you go through.
Correct.
So getting outside of the box, they're going to move you to somewhere else. So for example, at Schwab, if I wanted to do in-depth planning with a client, you are moving them to another advisor. Sometimes they were different divisions of Schwab, but sometimes they were other companies outside of Schwab that Schwab partnered with to get that in-depth planning. And then, like, one of the things Ballentine does is really assist with, okay, once you're retired and you're no longer putting money into your savings, now you're pulling from your savings. Where do you get that money from? What accounts do you tap, whether it's retirement or cash accounts? What do you tap first? What do you tap last? What combination? They don't really do a good job in working with clients in figuring out that combination. Okay, now you're retired. Now what? How do you fund that retirement? And I find that a lot of clients are kind of lost in that area.
It's interesting you say that. I think even to this day, having been, at the big firms a long time ago and had an independent, what I call small boutique for some time, when we get new clients, I hear that same feedback. Like, that some big firm, again, I'll call them .com, you take the name, they print me a pretty picture. They might even call it these words like Monte Carlo simulation. Right. But there's very little to no rubber meets the road. Okay, now what do I actually do and how do I actually make this work? They were more concerned about putting you in a box, that the box was, it was box A, B, or C. That's what they had. And that was the only boxes that were available. And if it was outside of that, we didn't have a pre-programmed, compliance approved, legal approved. A lot of people don't realize a lot of these companies are ran by legal organizations just to protect the company. Right. That's a whole and they should want to protect their company. Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But I think they don't realize how pre-prescribed things are, right? It's almost like, I'll use a food as an example for people. If you go to Applebee's, nothing wrong with Applebee's, but I suspect they've pre-cooked a lot of that stuff ahead of time and put it in bags, right?
Right.
It's not the same as if you go to a nice restaurant, maybe a Rick Irwin's or a Chop House, and you want it cooked your own way. You can probably have it your way, right?
Right.
Big difference.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So cool. So one of the things I heard you say, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when you were looking to take your money out, that these guys, maybe I don't want to throw us under the bus.
Right.
But our industry historically, which is one of the reasons we're so thankful to have you. We believe and we think our industry needs a lot more female representation. So we're certainly glad at our firm to have that. And I've always tried to be a partner with, whether it's the man, the woman, whoever, or it's a widow or widower. But talk about a little bit about that experience and do you think there's a disconnect in our industry with not enough either female advisors or helping what women might need in the financial planning process and wealth management process, in your experience, that frankly I wouldn't have?
Well, I think last time I checked, women doing kind of like a financial advisor role was less than 10% in this industry. So there's not many overall. And and when I was in communications, I was kind of a minority in communications in that most of the people doing my job in communications were male. So I think people like doing business with people that look like them and have similar experiences to them. And I hate to put the block between male and female, but there's definitely a disconnect, I feel like, sometimes with the sympathetic and the empathetic role that a man sometimes plays. And not every man, but a lot of men in this industry have a big ego. And I feel like when women come in to talk about money, sometimes it might be there because they're coming in because they have a need and a want to have this top of mind and a discussion. But a lot of times it's an event that has happened that put them in the place where they have to start making decisions. And maybe they didn't make decisions in the past, financial decisions at least. So they're scared and they want somebody that is going to not kind of like tell them what to do, but talk them through the process and explain to them why this is good for you, have a sympathetic role. Because a lot of times it's the events that happen. What do they say? They say women are going to live longer than men. We've heard that for so long. So who's going to be the ones that end up with the assets in the end? It's going to be the wives, the mothers, those people. So giving them some assistance in how do they take care of those assets? How do they make sure, because a woman has wants and needs and direction that might not be the same direction that her husband might have. She might want to make sure her grandkids are taken care of, but maybe not so much her direct kids. Maybe she thinks they're fine, but she might want to give to more charities. I mean, women are much more philanthropic than men are. At least that's what the statistics tell us. So I think, having somebody that kind of looks like you, has thoughts and feelings, can pick up on slight nuances, that's something that a lot of women like to have.
And I would say, I think, even though sometimes maybe if it's a widow, they may not say it, but they may just feel more comfortable because it's someone who maybe can share some of those same experiences. I will say, I've historically had a good relationship, I believe, with my female clients, and I always joke and say they're better investors. I tell that when I have a husband and wife come in, chances are she's going to outperform you because women inherently go through the process better.
Right.
And I'm throwing men under the bus here a little bit. And I always say, because they're better listeners. That goes both ways, meaning when I'm trying to educate and explain, I think they absorb more of it. Generally, I'm generalizing. There's men that are great at it, right? I'm not throwing, but I do think that's unique. And when you don't have a large representation in our industry, we're just so excited to have you there. I think, to be able to pull someone else in a meeting to lend that sympathetic ear, maybe has been through that experience. And perhaps likewise, if you've got a guy, maybe you can pull me in, right? I don't know. We can help both, but I do think it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited about joining Ballentine and the opportunities that are out there and being able to assist people. Not just women, even though I am a woman, that I kind of lean that direction, but women and men. I've had a lot of male clients of mine, and I love working with them. They're always a lot of fun. So different opportunities, different people and individuals, and that's what I'm after, is just to assist individuals in the upstate of South Carolina, Columbia, wherever they're coming from. I have clients in North Carolina. It was funny. I was the only female Schwab financial consultant in between nowhere in South Carolina. The closest one was Atlanta, and then there was no females up to Charlotte. I think the next female consultant with Schwab was in Raleigh. So I got calls from North Carolina a lot, Western North Carolina. Got phone calls because they'll search you out sometimes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
With a company that large.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, maybe let's switch gears. What do you see some of the challenges from your previous experiences that investors or maybe retirees are facing maybe over the next 5-10 years as they look forward that they maybe didn't face even just 5 years ago?
I think a lot of noise. I think there's been a lot of things going on probably in the last decade because, we go back to 2008, 2010. That's still fresh in a lot of people's minds, that the Great Recession, as they're calling it, where banking industry kind of went into turmoil. And we're kind of seeing a little bit of that again. So a lot of people are kind of getting scared and worried and concerned. I think inflation is a big thing that's going to stay with us for a while. I know the Fed has increased rates really, really fast in order to fight inflation, but I don't think we're going back to a 2% inflation rate. I think it'll stay higher. I think interest rates will stay higher. So it's managing those other financial issues, but also continuing to spur people to continue to save. Because a lot of things with our federal government, there's a big question mark. I don't think they're managing money as well. Not that the government has ever managed money very well. But, we have the debt crisis coming into view that needs to be handled. And they're like a bunch of kindergartners, I feel like, on the playground fighting over a ball. I also think, I am worried about Social Security. I'm not 20 years old anymore. I've done a good job saving, but you're still, you kind of depend on having a core amount of money coming in that you've worked and paid into the system for so many years. When I retire, how many employees are there that are going to be paying into the system to help cover my Social Security? So I worry about that, and I think that's on other people's minds as well.
So what do you see maybe the most common mistake people make let's say I'm a 60-year-old approaching retirement and I want to retire at 65. What has been some of the most common mistakes you've seen people make in doing that?
One, they don't start saving early enough. And when I talk with clients, I kind of say, hey, it's your opportunity to now educate your kids. You know what you've done wrong or you could have done better. You need to be educating your kids. So one, start saving when you get out of college. Your first job, you should be banking 401k, for retirement savings, even saving outside of a 401k, getting that emergency fund together. That's the first thing. People don't start early enough. The second thing, I think that people are not doing correctly is estate planning. And I think a lot of people think that, oh, I'm 30, I'm 40, I don't need to do estate planning. I don't have that many assets. But estate planning should take place really when you get married, at a minimum when you have kids. You need to, and I'm not talking you need to have a trust and these big estates, but at least do a will, at least have some life insurance. You don't know if you're going to be here tomorrow. And the way some of those 18-wheelers were driving on the highway coming down 85 today, you have moments of flashes of fear that happen probably on a weekly basis, estate planning. Have a will, get some life insurance, at least enough to cover your kids and your spouse if anything were to happen to you for a number of years. Because I think those are the biggest two things. So one, they don't start saving early enough. And two, that estate planning. Have a will, have life insurance.
Awesome. So as you move forward, I'm going to ask this question. So no, I'm not going to. I was going to ask what's the market's going to do, but that's what we get asked and we don't know, right? So
I wish I knew, right?
we don't know. We don't know that in interest rates. You don't have that either, right?
No.
Right. So as we kind of go along, though, what's become clear to me at least is planning's more important today than it's ever been, right? Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing you say is you didn't start saving, you didn't do estate planning. Part of that's putting that whole wealth management package together. And there's more and more noise, as you said. I think is the word you use. I call that information too. Like information sounds like a good thing.
Right.
I never will forget when I got in this industry, I literally thought I had a 10-year career. I said, this will be great. I can do it for 10 years and there's going to be so much information. Probably won't have a job, but I'll have a good run. I'll have a job till the cows come home because of the noise or the information.
Yeah.
And I say there's very little wisdom out there. Like, what do you do with it, right? What do you do with all this that's on the internet, right? Or wherever. And everyone has an opinion. And I think part of that with working with a good wealth coach or advisor is deciphering what information is noise, what is important, and putting together a cohesive plan. So maybe just briefly talk about what you think about the importance of general financial planning and wealth management are to the process of financial success.
I think it's eminent. I don't think people need to wait until they're 50 or 60 and before they start planning. I mean, they can start planning early. When you start having kids and when you do that will and that life insurance, start that planning. How are you going to pay for college? How are you going to start saving for retirement? This is stuff that should happen by the time you're in your 30s. My daughter plays lacrosse. I'm a big basketball mom. My kids played basketball since they were 5 years old. You don't go into a game without a plan. And you're playing a game every day of your life. Your game is life. So why not have a game plan? How are you going to tackle this kind of defense? What's your offense look like when you're starting the game? What are you going to do if? I mean, these are all things. Life, that's life. You're playing a game right now, and it's your job to plan for that game. Plan for the obstacles that are going to come out of nowhere and just have this might happen. But it's working with coaches. It's working with financial advisors who we are the coach in that point of life is we're going to help you set up that game plan for your financial success. We're going to help you with identifying, when, how, where, what's the easiest thing to do for estate planning. And that way you have those steps you're going to take. You have those game plans.
Do you think that gets turned up? I mean, that's great. And I think you should do all those things when you're 25, 35. But do you feel with the baby boomer generation that just ratchet getting turned up even more? Again, as you approach that 60, 65, it's like, my gosh, I should have planned more. Maybe you saved. I'll throw a number, just using a number. It doesn't say this is good or bad. You have $1 million. Can I retire? Can I not retire? Right. I have $2 million. Can I not retire? I only got $500,000. What do I do? Do you feel that ratchet of planning need turn up, down, the same as you get close to what I call the landing strip of, okay, one day it's going to be money at work, not people at work. How do you see that need in planning there?
It's never too late to have a good coach on your side. So a financial coach helping you with financial planning, it's never too late. I mean, it's great if you start early, and I would advise that. But, if you're in your late 50s, 60s, even if you're 70, working with a planner can assist you with laying things in place. How are you going to do distributions for those 60-year-olds? For the 70-year-olds, how are you going to do some gifting maybe? How are you going to do some philanthropy if you wish to do some philanthropy? I mean, you and I both know that sometimes philanthropy is, hey, I want to take care of my kids. It's internal family philanthropy. But sometimes it's churches, it's college, it's American Heart Association, it's organizations like that people are passionate about. So a good financial coach can help you identify what your passions are and how to fund those goals. But at any age. At Schwab, I had 92-year-olds still walking into my office and sitting down with me and not just asking me to review their holdings, but talking with me about, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think? Can I give so-and-so money? And if I do, what are the tax ramifications? Because we can assist with that.
It's so cool you say that, because my son's deciding on college. Mm-hmm. And he's been all the way from A to Z of what he's done. And of course, we've talked about financial planning, and he wants to do something impactful and meaningful. And it's made me reminisce why I got into this industry.
Right.
And it's one of the coolest things. Yes, I like helping people make money. Mm-hmm. Yes, I like helping myself make money. But at the end of the day, it still to this day gets me excited to be impactful to people's lives. Right. When they are trying to, at the end of their life, plan what happens, mm-hmm. what family did I impact, what charitable endeavors did I impact, right. Throughout their life. Did they minimize their taxes? Did they put a kid through school? If their spouse dies, would their spouse be okay? I've been mm-hmm. in that conversation. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are meaningful impacts that you have on people's life. And to me, and I guess that's why I'm doing this after all these years, I still get up and get really excited about that, because not many people get to do something that impactful with their life. And I just think it's cool.
Right.
So...
That's one of the reasons where I got into this industry. Yeah. was trying to assist myself, assist my friends, assist others, and I've just been introduced to so many different, unique people in life, and being able to help them with what they're passionate about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome. Well, on that note, we'll end this most of this, but I'm going to ask you one last question. What makes you tick?
Assisting people. I think that's what makes me tick. I love talking with people. Just working one-on-one with individuals, helping families. That's what makes me tick. I have a little bit of a passion, and I try at least once or twice a year to do some financial education classes in schools. I work through junior achievement. I did 2 classes in the fall with J.L. Mann, one of the teachers at J.L. Mann, working with some high school students. I like doing stuff like that. So that's what makes me tick. I mean, stock market is a lot of fun and frustrating, but just working with people and helping them move forward in life and not worry so much about their finances.
Awesome. So if people wanted to find you, reach out to you to find out how you might be able to do that, how would they do that?
Well, I'm really new to Ballentine, so I have to reference my business card for this one. So Ballentine Capital Advisors is where I'm located now. My email address is Thompson, THOMPSON, @BallentineCapital.com. And my phone number is 864-438-2158.
Awesome, man.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for joining us here and at our firm, and we're super, super excited. And I know all of our clients will love getting to know you and just like to see you in the community. And, at the end of the day, this podcast is connected by community, and I know our community will be grateful that you're here. So thanks.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the time today, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody at Ballentine.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today at this edition of Connected by Community. Go out and find us on all the various social media platforms. Until we see you next time, Go out and make our community great.